Good morning, everyone. I did the Facebook Live this morning. That was a little bit of a fiasco. And then I went to do some weekly readings, and it turns out somebody around me was having their music up ridiculously loud, and I got so hard to focus on what I wanted to read. So I thought, I'll get back on here and see who's online, see if I can catch up with you, and then I'll go back and do the readings later. Firstly, I want to say thank you. This has been superb doing this every day. I'm really loving catching up and getting to know you guys. I feel like I know you personally now, especially when you came over to my Facebook page. So we went to do live card pulls this morning. Hey, Jackie, how you going? Went to do live card pulls, and Facebook has a new system for using the lives, and apparently people couldn't hear me. The sound was breaking up. Hey, Haley. Hey, Michelle. How you going? Darcy, I am so sorry you missed out this morning. I'm going to see if I can fit one in next weekend, so I'll see how I'm going. Good morning, Joanne, again. Hello, Susan. How are you going? So I was really a little annoyed that everybody, we still had a lovely group of people, but it certainly wasn't as popular as what it normally is, which makes me think a lot of people missed out. So I'm going to try and have a look at my diary and see if I can fit in for another one next week. I sort of was trying to think of something to talk about today, so I will come up with something, but we'll do a card pull from the animal spirit deck and see what we get for the day. I'm very well, thanks, Jackie. I hope you are too. It's certainly a strange life at the moment, isn't it? I don't know what's happened, but I don't know how I fit my job in. I've been on holidays for a week, and I feel like I've been absolutely flat chat every day. And I'm like, how do I fit a 38-hour-a-week job in amongst all of this? Because I seem to have been so busy. Hey, Kiora. We've got someone from New Zealand. Bubs, how you going? That's really nice. I think you're the first New Zealand visitor to the lives, which is really nice. So thank you. Carterton, I'll let you say. I can't say that. When I went to New Zealand, I had trouble with so many of the names. I couldn't quite get my tongue around them. So, all right. So we're going to pull a card from the Animal Spirit deck. And if it wants to, maybe that one doesn't want to come out. Okay, we have the mouse. Okay, that's a little interesting one. So I still haven't got to know this deck really well. So we'll see what the mouse has to say. I don't know if any of you use this deck. I think it's absolutely beautiful. So I think the mouse would be an earth sign. And I'm sort of getting to know it. And I thought, what a good way to get to know it by pulling a card here every day. I can get to know what it's all about. Okay. Bonjour. How beautiful. We have New Zealand, France, and the US all online, as well as Australia. So that's fabulous. Okay, so we have the mouse here. And this is about being detail-oriented, small-minded, nitpicky, and nervous. It's quite interesting. The mouse has an innate desire to tend to the details. It often spends its day fixing, preparing, organizing, and scrutinizing. Unfortunately, a mouse personality doesn't notice when they've gone too far. Soon they begin to have a limited and fearful vision of life and try to control every detail. Now I know why you're showing me that. This can be quite a painful experience for both the mouse and those around them. When mouse energy is at play, step back for a moment. It may be time to find a more purposeful project to delve into, one that's worthy of your exacting eye. So this is quite interesting because we've been talking about control. Oh, how nice. Bubs was just saying Carterton, where she comes from, has had the first transgender mayor, Georgina Bayer. Isn't that fabulous? So the mouse talks about us not controlling. And I guess if we've got a life at the moment where, you haven't got a lot to do and, you've got things around, and this is probably what I'm talking about when I was speaking about the fact that I'm at home and I seem to have less time on my hands than what I do normally. And yet I feel like I've been really I don't know, I've been utilizing my time well, but we've been talking about control a lot over the last few times we've been on, and I think it's probably a good indication on how to let things go. There's nothing you can really do about it at the moment with the energy like it is. You know, you have to accept, I guess, that, life is going to be different. It must be very difficult for people who've got families at home, trying to, homeschool people. And I've heard a couple of people say how difficult that is. And I'm like, let it go. If it's that difficult and it's that demanding, I know it's an essential thing to have your kids learning. But at the end of the day, children have trouble adapting something to a different environment. So you've got a bit of a battle on your hands anyway. If you can get them to sit down for half an hour a day and put your time and energy into them, then maybe that's where you need to start. Because kids don't equate learning and home. Home is a place to have fun, and school is a place to learn. So they're already in the habits of doing that. And it is really difficult to shift someone's thinking. Good evening. Oh, you're back homeschooling on Monday. Yeah. You know what? As I said, I think if you can get your kids to sit down to start a kindergarten or whatever it is to people around the world, that first year at school is about getting children to expand their attention, really. So, the teachers in that first class will do things like, play games and sit them down and tell stories, and they keep it very light and very casual because you only really got the child there for them to learn how to be in the school environment. So, I mean, expecting a child to go bang from school environment to home environment, very difficult. It might be a little easier if you have children who are older, who are used to doing homework at school. But I mean, even as an adult, going in to do work at home after working in a work environment for so long, sometimes it's really difficult to, first off, when you first started doing it, it's, hey, how you going? When you first start doing it, it's a little awkward because you find it hard to stay focused because you've got so many distractions at home. And then after a while, I found it's really difficult because you don't always have someone to ask something to. And then I found I would overcompensate by working for too long because I'd remember things I'd forgotten to do, and I'd go back and start doing them too. So I'd find I was still on my computer late at night or getting on early because I'd forgotten to do something. And the only way I was able to counteract that was by deciding, okay, my work day starts at this time, finishes at this time, and then I put in my lunch hour and my teas or my breaks. And I tried to stick to that routine. Not that that always happens either. But to try and stay focused for, 8, 9 hours a day at home to work is actually a little bit of a challenge. I'm getting better at it after doing it for several weeks. Yeah, you've got to really create your own structure. And I think that's what you have to do for your children too. I think possibly, having a separate room, having a routine, all those sort of things. And yes, working too much. So it becomes a real challenge. So all of a sudden, children have been taken out of the school environment. They're at home where they normally have fun and play around, and you're going, right, you need to sit down for this many hours a day and study. And I read this thing online about people thinking that they had to school their children for the, several hours a day like they do normally, and how that was just impossible. If you could get a child to stay learning for 2 hours in a home environment, then actually that was really good. So it's interesting. I don't know how you guys are going with it. I couldn't imagine. I think the best concentration I got out of my kids when they were young was when we cooked together. And that was always awesome because they always wanted to get knee deep in, cooking and making things. So, yeah, maybe that's good time too to get them focused, rather than sitting looking at books all the time. Virgo rising, routine and structure is your thing. Yeah, but it's challenging because you also have to work. Yeah, exactly. And that's why I said to my daughter, like, I think that you have to, even though you may have your routines at home, it's like the only way working from home has worked for me is because I'm a Capricorn. So definitely my work ethic and all the things I do connected to work are definitely very much a Capricorn thing, although I'm probably not so much Capricorn in other aspects of my life. But certainly when it comes to routines and structure, I'm very good with that. And I think that's really has been a great attribute to me as working with other people and leading other. Oh, there you go. I missed 6 months of school and still ended up finishing and getting multiple degrees. Oh, Emily, you're a Virgo as well. So we have quite a few earth signs on here today then. That's quite interesting. I'm a Libra moon, and I find my Libra moon is much more aligned because in Vedic astrology, the moon sign is the more dominant sign. And I feel that my Libra moon is much more dominant in terms of my day-to-day stuff. But I have a Scorpio ascendant, and I feel the Scorpio for me is much more around my relationship. So you're a Cappy too. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying, Joanne. Joanne says even in school, the young ones have difficulty to focus on work for 2 hours. That's what I mean. If you haven't got strict routines, I think it's going to be very difficult. And I think poor mum or poor dad's going to get much more stressed than what the kids will, because the kids will want to go off and play. So my daughter has 3 children. Her daughter is 10 and all her learning is online. And Sarah says she just can't focus for long at all. Oh, there you go. Another, we're all earth signs. Haley's an Aquarius. Oh, you've got a Libra rising. Nice. And a bit of Virgo in there too. Ah, your moon sign must be fire. You should be able to find your moon sign if you do your chart. The only thing that's a little bit hard to do if you haven't got the time is your ascendant. Yeah, well, because mine's earth and air too. But I don't know. My earth sign's definitely the Capricorn's very much around my work ethic. My moon sign probably more around my personality and my day-to-day stuff. My Scorpio stuff seems to be most dominant within relationships. Yeah, but the only thing you can't find with the time, Pucci, is your ascendant. Everything else will still show. So you can still do your birth chart. Hey, Annette, how you going? You're a Libra as well. Yeah, I have the biggest amount of people on my YouTube channel are Libras. They're always avid watchers of my videos. So I always think about that when I put them up. We're all over the place here. Susan's a Cancer. So, yeah, I don't know. Just if you want to find out what aspects you have in your birth chart, the only thing that's hard to work out is your ascendant, because that is really reliant on time. But everything else there. Oh, another Libra. Joanne's a Libra too. Oh, and you've got a cat moon. You're the opposite way round to me. Very interesting. Very interesting. So, do most of you find your moon sign resonates either just as much or even more so than your sun sign? It'll be interesting to find out. I think it's very interesting because I used to read about Capricorns all the time and like, okay, yes. Oh, no, Lenore, how you going? And occasionally for Jay Latham. Occasionally for both. I've got you. Yeah, Haley finds her moon resonates more. Because I used to read about Capricorns and like, okay, I've worked my way to the top. I've, done the top stuff and managed big up to 80 people. So I've been in management positions and I love it, but I'm more a leader than a manager. I love to see other people succeed, but I found that, the way they talked about Capricorns being so focused on getting to the top and being successful and all that, and it wasn't something that I found. I liked being at the top so I could work with other people. So it wasn't so much about seeing myself shine as what it was making sure other people were able to shine. Okay, so Beatrice says here, oh, so you've got moon and sun in Libra, Suzanne. That's a nice mix. Beatrice says, my signs in my chart shift like a chameleon because I'm a Gemini Cancer cusp. Sun, yeah, somebody else talked to me about the cusp thing the other day. Virgo resonates. Yeah, Virgo resonates a lot for you. And Darcy says she's really a Taurus. Yeah, some people just fit beautifully into their signs. Yeah, see, Lenore's talking about her Aries rising resonating. And that's why I said I think that my Scorpio stuff seems to really come up a lot in my relationships to people, the watery side. Aquarius ascendant. Yep, I have Aquarius in my Venus. Sag moon, Taurus moon, Sag Venus, Aquarius rising. Oh, that's a nice little mix there. Sag sun, Taurus moon. Okay, that's interesting. Leo sun, Gemini moon, Libra rising. Yeah, sometimes I look and I think there must be such a conflicting thing. You can't sort of be both. You know what I mean? So you have to slip in and out of either. But when you look at some people, Cancer rising. And this is much the same. This is why I say to people, look at your other aspects, because sometimes I listen to Capricorn. At the moment, Capricorn, Libra, and Scorpio all resonating. But sometimes one will just not. If you're on the cusp of something as well, which I was speaking to somebody the other day who was on the cusp, I think Taurus and Aries, and they said to me that already becomes a bit of an issue too, because they go between the two sun signs as well. So that's a lot to look at. I Pucci, I'm going to say to you, let's catch up with that. Cafe Astrology has a really good natal chart. I agree with Emily. It's probably, hey Chandra, it's probably the easiest one to use. Because you can just use your date of birth. Now, with the ascendant, it's really strange because I think I said to you guys before, my mother had told me I was born after midnight. And if I went half an hour after midnight, it would have made me Pisces. But when I read up on the Pisces ascendant, it did not resonate with me at all. So I moved it forward and went an hour after midnight, and I had a Scorpio. And when I read the Scorpio, it was just me. So I think sometimes you can sort of work it out. Beatrice said Emily and Beatrice's placements are almost reverse. And there is a lovely girl I read for who has exactly all this. She's much younger than me, but she has all the same placements as me, which I think is quite interesting. Astro Dienst does a full chart, and it's also easy to use. What I would do is perhaps just start off by putting some time in during the day and having a read of the ascendant. If it doesn't resonate with you, then it's not your ascendant. And you can generally find your ascendant by doing that. See, sometimes I have a lot of Sagittarius in my chart too. A lot of Sagittarius. You've got a Scorpio twin flame and your mother was a Scorpio. Yeah. Interestingly enough, you should say that, Darcy. My south node is in Taurus and my north node is in Scorpio. So that's quite a difference, isn't it, when you look at that? The Taurus and Scorpio couldn't be as different. Yeah. So even though your water you come up as a fire sign, very much so. I know Vedic astrology is very interesting. I'd love to learn astrology. I just wouldn't find the time. And I'll see you, Jackie. See you next time. I think that it's very interesting, yes. And they do say the Vedic astrology is much more accurate. I've read that before when I was looking at both astrologies to see what the differences were. That's where I learned that the moon sign was more dominant in Vedic astrology. So it's probably something to look into. I don't think you'd have the capacity to learn both, but I do know people who have. I'm not sure if it's valuable, but it's probably interesting to see the differences between them. But yeah, it's a very interesting little subject, isn't it? And I'm not sure how we got onto that because we were talking about kids at school. Maybe it's a really good idea if you have a look at what star signs your children are in trying to teach them. Because somebody said to me the other day something about they had trouble getting their child to read from a book. Hey, Erica, how are you going? And I was like, the trouble is with schools, see, we presume that children can read books and learn from books. But I've heard that with Vedic. Sorry, I'm getting distracted again. And I remember thinking, you know, as a kid, I loved to read, but I'm much more as a person, I like to sort of get hands-on with things. I can read, I can listen, but I don't take in as much unless I'm actually doing as well. Um, so I think that sometimes we forget, you know, you sit a child in a classroom and you sit them still and then you tell them to learn. And I think that's a very difficult environment, especially when you see like not everybody in the world is behind a desk. Like a lot of people are out in the field doing the work they have to do. So maybe having this conversation is a really good indication that, you know, we perhaps should look at how are we teaching our children? Maybe we should be um, a bit more open-minded with how we teach them, especially when they're in a home environment and they're used to running around like crazy, and then you're saying, sit down and learn this from a book. Maybe it isn't the best way for them to learn. But anyway, so Beatrice said here, Vedic shifts all of the placements by a few degrees before, and so her Virgo rising becomes a Leo rising, which is quite interesting. So maybe we should do a little bit of talking more on that. Boys learn different for girls for sure, and I agree with you 100%. I think boys are really, they don't seem to, I don't know why it's different. You wouldn't know why it was different. And it can't always be about socialization, but boys tend to be more distractible or whatever. Yeah, see, there you go. Has great language skills, but took ages to learn to read. Mathematically talented. That's interesting too, isn't it? Because I think that perhaps not all children, not all people are going to be one or the other. I didn't really take much of an interest in, good word, Hayley, restless. They are. They seem to have more sort of pent up energy. But then I think boys are behind girls academically at some ages as well. So, you know, maybe that's why it is too. They seem to have more energy, although I look at my granddaughter and I think she's 10 and she's just boundless. She's wild. She's wilder than the twins, and they're 6 and they're boys, but she would be wilder than them. She has so much energy. Anyway, I guess I better get off. I've already been an hour on the Facebook page, so I'll try and do another Facebook Live next weekend. I'll see how I'm going for time. Because of the one was mucked up this morning, but I'm a bit worried that if the new Facebook, the way they're doing it on the new Facebook may not be good in terms of the audio, which people were saying I was breaking up all the time, which is pretty annoying. Oh, there you go. Yeah. So Beatrice is saying her daughter is learning really well, but her son is a bit more restless. You're very welcome, Hayley. It was lovely to catch up with you. I'll see you all again tomorrow. I actually was going to talk about vibration today. I had a little thought this morning and I thought that's a really good subject. Thanks, Erica. A really good subject to talk about. So maybe we'll find some time to talk about it tomorrow, about vibration. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's beautiful, Emily. It's always great to catch you all too. I feel like I know you all. Like I said at the beginning, it seems really bizarre. Like I feel like I'm having conversations with people I know quite well. So I guess I'll get to know you even more as time goes by. Thanks, Emily. Beautiful. All right. I shall catch up with you very soon. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Mwah.